Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here, the capital city of the province of British Columbia in the western part of Canada. I hope everybody is having a good week so far. Welcome Marjona. Hi Farouks. Hi Un. Welcome Kyber. Good to see many students in this class. We are focusing on Task 1 writing, and we are focusing on the general IELTS exam. That's right, even though this is the academic channel for many of you, we are also on General English Help YouTube. We're multi-streaming, so we're going to be doing general as well as academic Task 1 writing into the future. In fact, we're doing academic Task 1 tomorrow as well. So welcome everybody. Welcome Carolina, our moderator. This lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Visit us there. And for the general IELTS, please visit us at gieltshelp.com, where we have lots and lots of content, over 100 hours of HD video lessons, practice exams, a fully interactive course, all found here. This is Academic English Help. Click that big red button to join the premium package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. We are a British Council IELTS Test Registration Center and certified agent, so you're in good hands with us. General IELTS looks like this. It's the green background. Again, click that big red button to join the premium package. There you'll get a My Student account. In your My Student account, you will have access to computer-based practice exams, full online course, IELTS exams and workbooks, lesson videos, IELTS audio CDs, and lots of additional services. So check that out. All right. So we do have apps. Academic IELTS Help links to aehelp.com. Our app, General IELTS Help, links to gieltshelp.com. And if you have questions, send me an email to adrian@aehelp.com and I'll get back to you in short notice. Now let's get into today's lesson. So this is writing Task 1 for the general IELTS. It's the first task, of course, in your 1 hour for the writing, and you should spend about 20 minutes on this task. So just the same as the academic IELTS, you have 20 minutes. Again, it's worth 1/3 of your writing mark. And then you have to write at least 150 words. Now, again, just like with the academic, good Task 1 writing for the general will be probably a bit longer than just 150 words. It doesn't have to be much longer. So academic IELTS writing, especially for Task 1, often needs to be a little bit longer than general IELTS. For general IELTS, about 180 to 200 words will be enough to get you a band 9 if you have a perfectly written letter or email. All right. So let's get into this. So for IELTS Task 1 General, you kind of have two categories of writing styles. One is formal and the other is informal, depending on who your audience is. So if you're writing a letter to a friend, that's informal. If you're writing a letter to your boss, that's going to be formal. Okay, so you have to pay attention who the audience of the letter is. Of course, the audience here are the examiners, but it's an imaginary audience, so you have to consider that imaginary audience. Okay, so we have talked about Task 2 as persuasive essays. We've talked about Task 1 academic as an expository essay, but we haven't talked too much about the general IELTS Task 1 in these live classes. So there are 4 types of essay styles. All writing falls into one of these 4 styles. So you have persuasive writing, which is going to be Task 2. You have expository writing, now if this is new for you, we go into lots of detail about this in our full course. This is academic task 1. And then we have a few more styles. So which one is general IELTS task 1? And I can see that some of you are really on the ball and excited to get going. So Sammy says it's a narrative. Yeah, absolutely. It's a narrative. And what is the definition of a narrative? So how would you define a narrative piece of writing? Okay, what is a narrative piece of writing? So what does that mean? Welcome, Ritu. Good to see many students. Hi, Rajesh. Hi, Vicky. Hi, Junie in the General English channel. So Sammy says narrative is a story. Okay, so yeah. Okay, sure. So when we're telling a story to our reader, what does it need to include? So what does a good story need to include? By the way, the 4th type of writing is called descriptive writing. And you can think about that as the father of all styles. As all writing includes descriptive form. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But right now, let's focus on the narrative. So narrative writing tells a story to the reader. And what are some of the basic rules of a good story? So what should a good story include? What do you think? So think about movies, think about books that you read. Many of you learn about this, of course, in your language classes or in your writing classes. You should in schools. So what does good storytelling include? What should it start with? What should it have? What should it contain? Okay, it's really important to think about this. This will help you put together better information, more content. It will flow better. It will be more connected. So Rajveer says it should include the author's experience. Carolina says it should have an introduction, a plot, and a conclusion. Absolutely, Carolina. Very good. So it should have an introduction. Let me take it off of bold here. So introduction. It should have a plot, yeah, so something that happens, and a conclusion. Okay, let's talk more about these. So, in a story, what should a good introduction have? So we're going kind of down this funnel. You can visually picture this as at the top of the pyramid. So let me do it for you this way so you can imagine it a little bit better as well. Okay. So you can picture it this way, okay? So good story. Okay, it has an intro, a plot, and it has some kind of a conclusion. And what does a good introduction have? Okay, so if I want to introduce a story to my reader, right, then I have to make sure that I have a couple of key points, okay? And what should it have? Okay, the plot is basically the events that unfold, and we'll get into that in a second here, but what should the introduction have? Okay, Sammy says maybe a hook. Okay, Pachu says it should have a protagonist and an antagonist. So protagonist is the hero of the story. The antagonist is the villain of the story. Yeah, Pachu, absolutely, we can think about that. Rajveer says it should have a background. Yeah, and instead of background here, think about it as context. Okay, so for example, it's the city of Vancouver. Of course, that's the big city here in British Columbia in summertime. Okay, so that's just an idea. We're going to get into the question and go through these steps as well, but this is just to give you the fundamentals, the basics, since we're starting here. So it needs to have context, right? That's how every movie starts. You know where it's happening. It's happening in the future, in the United States, for example. Okay, so it needs to have context. And then we're getting a little bit of ahead of ourselves here, Pachu, with the protagonist and antagonist, but you have the right idea. So it has character build. Okay, so who are the characters? Okay, so who are the characters? So we build the characters, okay? And then the plot also has some elements. The plot will have a climax, okay, which is the point of the story, okay? And the conclusion will have the moral or the consequence, or the outcome of the story, okay? Now, when you go and you research narrative writing, you're going to find out a lot more information. Like you'll find out that character build has the antagonist and the protagonist, okay? And you can go into more and more detail. Of course, writing stories is an art form. It's well developed, so you can research this as much as you want. But basically, for task 1 of the general IELTS, this is the simple basic structure that you kind of need to keep in mind as you're working through your email or your letter to whoever you're writing it to, okay? So we're going to do that with today's question. Let's take a look at today's question, and then we're going to build context, and we're going to build character, okay? And the rest of it step by step. And of course, today's will be a formal essay. So we're going to do it in a formal style, and I'm going to explain what you have to pay attention to when you're writing a formal letter, all right? Okay, so let's go back here. All right, so introduction has context and character. Okay. Plot will have a climax. Climax means the main conflict. Okay. And then it will have a conclusion, which is going to be the outcome of this story. Okay, all right, so let's take a look at the specific question for today, and then we'll work through it. So here we go. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. You notice that cars are driving too fast near the playground next to your house. Write a letter to City Hall. In your letter, explain the situation clearly. As you can imagine, that's context, okay? Describe why this worries you. This is kind of your plot, okay? And suggest possible solutions. This is your conclusion to your story, okay? So the IELTS basically gives you the structure in the task 1 question. You just have to identify that that's what's going on here, okay? Is that clear for everybody? So is everybody on the same page? Okay. Vijay Pusala, we're doing general letter writing today because we're doing multi-streaming to our general English help channel as well, right? Okay, so Kyber says, yep, it's clear. All right. So you want to write at least 150 words. Now, again, you can do a bit of planning. So just like task 1 academic, where you do the planning based on the graph or the chart that you're looking at, it's a good idea to do a little bit of planning. Okay. So let's plan the context. Okay, so you do not need to write addresses. You begin by dear, and you write 150 words. Okay, first let's do context. All right, so give me some ideas for the context. So what is the setting of this scenario? All right, and just jot down some ideas. Now, when you're practicing at home, you want to take a bit of time to really think about this so that when you get to the real IELTS, the ideas come to you quickly, okay? So you notice that cars are driving too fast near the playground next to your house, okay? So give me the context. What is the context here? Okay? All right? Where is this happening? Give me a clear picture as the reader, as the examiner, okay? Where is this happening? So give me the context. Sammy, yeah, location and time, and that's what I'm looking for. So don't just tell me what it is, but actually give me the specific location, give me the time. But you, it's the playground next to your house, yes, but you need to be a little bit more specific. So you need to elaborate on the concept of the playground that's next to your house. So just give me some specific ideas. Okay? All right? Okay, so Kyber says that this is in Kabul. It's the Serena playground. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, Kyber. So I'm looking for that specific information. Okay? So it's in Kabul, Serena playground. It's large. It's maybe a park. Okay. Let's say it's corner of 5th Avenue and North Street. Okay, so that's your context. And then in your context, you definitely want to have time as well. Okay, so when is this happening? Okay, so this is your location. And then as a couple of you mentioned, you definitely want the time. Okay. All right, so time. Okay. All right, and now you've got the right idea. Now I see that some of you are coming up with some specific locations here. So now come up with the time, okay? And this is how you're going to end up with that 200-word letter, formal letter for City Hall. That's going to get you some really high band scores. So when is this happening? So Rajveer says it's happening in the evening at 4 p.m., okay? Let's say last 2 years. Or last year, last 12 months. You probably would have written a letter earlier if it was more than 12 months. So last 12 months, 4 to 6 p.m. and let's say 7 to 9 p.m. Okay. Now, I'm already having some good thoughts here of why I'm writing, 7 to 9 a.m. Okay. Why do you think that already I'm starting to get these ideas? So notice how in the planning, you really start to develop your thinking. So here it's happening in the last 12 months, and it's happening from 4 to 6 p.m. and 7 to 9 a.m. You should always go with the earlier time first in your writing, so follow structure as much as you can. So why do you think? What do you mean, Rajveer, by peak hours? What does that mean? I would use a different word, but I think you're on the right track. Okay. So the last 12 months, 7 to 9 a.m., 4 to 6 p.m. Yeah, so Sammy says before and after office hours. Absolutely. Okay. Now, at this point, I will probably also start to formulate the idea that maybe there's a new office building or a new shopping plaza that was built not far away, and people are going to work and coming from work and rushing past this. So that would be my last bit of context, and that would go back into the location, okay? Okay, now we need characters. All right. So no story is good or complete without the right characters. All right. Okay. And this can go back and forth. So you'll notice as you build out your context, your characters, your plot, and your suggestions, you'll get more ideas for each as you're going through these steps, okay? So who are the characters in your story here? Okay. Riza Corp, absolutely. Rush Hour. Yeah, that's what I was looking for in the previous part there. Okay, so rush hour traffic. Yeah. It's those peak hours are called rush hour. Okay, Rajveer says children and adults. All right, Rajveer, be more specific. So this is where descriptive writing comes in, and you want to be more specific. So instead of children, okay, so children is a good first start, but I want to be a little bit more specific than just children. And this is where I'm going to pick up my lexical resource marks once I start writing, okay? So children and then drivers, also called motorists. In this case, it'll be the office workers to be more specific, right? In the new office building. And when we're thinking about children, okay, Carolina says, my son Carlos. Yeah, maybe your child plays on that playground as well, and that's why you're extremely worried. Okay, so you have your son Carlos as the children. What else would I include into children here? So who are the children that I'm specifically worried about? Okay. Janelle says congressman. Yep. Instead of congressman, Janelle, I might go with mayor. Okay. Who else? Who else? Okay, with children, so again, visualize the information. I would go toddlers. In primary school, right? So older children are pretty careful with traffic, even though it can be dangerous for them. But especially if the playground has, lots of toddlers. Toddlers are young children, like 2, 3, 4 years old. Okay, so toddlers we're really worried about because toddlers can kind of just go out on the street without paying attention. So your son Carlos, toddlers, and there's primary school children. And now you might come up with the concept of, hey, I can add more to the context. There's an elementary school nearby, or a primary school. We call it elementary school in Canada, but internationally primary school. So we can add that back to context, okay? So motorists, office workers, mayors, think about your conclusion or your consequence as well. So who do you think can help to regulate the speeding? Okay, what else? Okay, yeah, very good. Now I see toddlers coming up. All right, so I would also include policemen, okay, or traffic officers, members of the community, city planners. So these can all be characters, and I'm sure as I'm listing these, you're starting to realize how each of these are applicable to this context, okay? maybe civil engineers. Okay, so all of those can come into context. All right. Okay, so now we have the plot. Okay. And for the plot, so we have our context, we have our characters, okay, we have our location, we have our time. So this is the context here, okay, time, location, characters, and now we're building the plot, okay. Yeah, volunteers, very good, Asma. So you might have some volunteers to help children cross safely. Absolutely. Okay, so what's the plot? What's the conflict here? Okay, what's our concern? What's the climax of this story? Okay, what can happen here? Okay, give me some ideas about the plot. Like, why are you writing this letter? Okay, all right, so yeah, so Amir says maybe there was an accident, right? So there was already a child that got hit or a person that got hit crossing the road to get to the playground or playing at the playground chasing a ball. And you're worried about more accidents, okay? So that's what the plot is, all right? And then we have a conclusion. And in our conclusion, we are going to focus on the outcome. So what we want changed, okay? All right. So Kyber says children and other people can get out of the playground. It'll be dangerous for them. Absolutely. Okay. All right. And what's the conclusion? So what do we want to see happen? All right. Then we'll get into our essay. Okay. Balwinder says noise, dangerous for elderly people as well. Okay. Jainil, yeah, the suggestion. So based on our context, based on our characters, based on the plot, what can be our suggestions? So what can be the solutions to people speeding through here? Okay. Okay, so Bashora says penalties or traffic fines. Anybody knows what we call it when you have a police officer waiting on the side of the road and measuring the speed and catching people? Yeah, so Amanpreet says speed bumps or speed breakers. They're called speed bumps. Okay, so speed bumps are when you're driving along and then you have those kind of bumps that the tire goes over. That's called a speed bump. Okay, so speed bumps, absolutely. Okay, it's a patrol or it's speed traps. Okay, all right. So speed traps, that would be another one. Okay. What else? How else could we control this? There are some other ideas here as well. So yeah, so more signs, Jainil. So more signs, yeah. Absolutely. Signs and lights. Okay, and there's still one more solution as well, restricted traffic. So in some places where this is a big problem, they will actually restrict traffic and they will not allow traffic on that road. They will redirect the traffic in a different direction, okay? All right, good. So that is definitely the right track. All right, so now we have all of our ideas and now we can write a good essay to City Hall or a good letter, a good narrative. And again, in the real world, if I were to write a letter to City Hall, I would definitely sit down like this and plan my letter before I got writing. Okay, so again, when you're at home and you're practicing task 1 for the general IELTS, just like task 1 for the academic, you really need to plan your essay before you begin writing. Okay. Mohammed says speed cameras. Yeah, absolutely. So they're called traffic cameras. Okay. So those are all solutions. All right. Okay. So the task one for the general, just like for academic, well, similarly to academic, will have 3 parts. Okay. So it has the introduction, which is basically your context. Okay. And it has the plot, and then it has the conclusion. Okay. All right. Good. So now here we begin the letter with dear something something. So you should always be unique here. Okay. And here I want to be unique and I want to be specific. Okay. Professional letters will uniquely title the letter and will be specific so that when that letter is opened in City Hall, they know exactly who to give it to. Okay, so who do I give it to? Who do I give this letter to? So here I'm writing a letter to City Hall. In your letter, explain the situation. So Sammy, it's not dear sir or madam. Okay, a good high band essay will be more creative than that. All right, so this is where we're getting into it. I think this is what a lot of students were looking for. So avoid writing dear sir, madam, as this is too general. It's everybody's writing this, okay? For high band scores, don't do that. Okay? And I think this is what many of you were waiting for, is how do I do this? How do I get these high band essays? It's not the mayor, Jainil. I wouldn't write mayor because the mayor is in charge of everything, okay? So, and I wouldn't write counselor either, Asma. You're looking for the person that's in charge here. So think about who you should address this letter to at City Hall. Okay, there's a couple different ways to do it, but you definitely have to be clever. Okay, so don't write to the mayor in this case, as they are not specific enough. The mayor will probably open up your letter and throw it with the other 1,000 letters, okay? Hopefully not, but the world is tough these days. So who am I actually writing to? All right? I'm not writing to the minister. Usually when we're dealing with traffic in a city, there's a specific department at your city hall that deals with traffic. So who are we writing to? Simran says, dear municipality director. That's maybe a little bit better. Yeah, Amanpreet says, dear road department. Yeah, so something like that. I would say, dear traffic authority. Okay. So if I were to write this letter to City Hall, I would start by writing, Dear Traffic Authority, okay? Or maybe you might write something like, Dear Civil Engineering Department, okay? That would be our other one, right? Or you might do something like this. Depending on what your letter has. Okay, so that's going to be much more accurate. Okay, does everybody see that? So right away, and your salutation is very important. Unfortunately, this isn't taught enough to IELTS students, that the salutation, this is called your salutation, the salutation that you choose absolutely will set the tone for your ability in English, okay? So if I'm an IELTS examiner and I read Dear Sir, Madam, immediately I'm thinking, band 6, maybe band 7 if it's really well written. It's hard to convince me to give you a band 9 at that point, which is terrible, I know, but it's like right away you're like, oh, really? I've already made it impossible to get a band 9. So Dear Traffic Authority Administration, that's definitely going to make me think, aha, here's somebody who is experienced at writing letters professionally, okay? All right. Simran, Dear Department, again, it's not enough. Okay. If I send a letter with this salutation to my city hall, they're going to know right away who I'm trying to get in hold of. Even if they don't have an exact department like this, they will have an idea of where this letter needs to go or who needs to see this letter. Okay. So think about that. Who is the specific person that needs to see this letter? Okay. All right. Now let's get into our introduction. Okay. In your introduction, what should be your first step? Okay. So what should be your first step? Your first step should be introducing yourself. Yeah, absolutely. You're very welcome. Thomas says, Dear Municipal Commissioner. That might work. Yeah. Mohammed Akil says, Dear Chief Traffic Officer. That could work as well, Mohammed. Very good. That's much more accurate, Mohammed. Very good. All right. Okay. Yeah, you should introduce yourself. Absolutely. Who are you? Okay. All right. So let's do that. Let's introduce ourselves. And always remember in the characters that you are the character when it's a first-person narrative. And the task 1 of general IELTS is always pretty much a first-person narrative. So you're always writing in the first-person author voice, the I, me, my. Okay? All right, now you don't need to give your name in the beginning because you're going to have that at the end of the letter. So you just introduce yourself. Okay? So and here I'm just using my notes. That's why I'm going back here. So I'm living on the corner of 5th Avenue and North Street. Okay. Now, notice how I'm using this style of writing. So I'm not going to write out avenue and I'm not going to write out street. So band 8, band 9 essays definitely make use of concise writing. Okay? They don't try to get word count by writing out unnecessary words like street or avenue. So I'm a concerned citizen living on the corner of 5th Avenue and North Street, just across from the large Serena playground located on the west side of Kabul. Okay? All right. So here we go. So this is a good start to my introduction. Now, please try the same, okay? So I see that Simran's doing this. I'm writing to draw your attention towards the rash driving near the playground where I live. I hope you will address the issue favorably. Simran, too much information too quickly, not enough description. You're going to get into some writing that's not well structured and might become repetitive as well. So before you do that, make sure that you introduce yourself, okay? And instead of a concerned citizen, so if I'm reviewing this, I might say parent, okay? Because I said I have a son named Carlos. So I'm a concerned parent. That gives more emphasis here, right? So, and one of the really important points before I go on is notice how I wrote I am, not I'm, Okay. So I'm not writing I'm writing I am. Anybody know why I'm doing that? So I'm not doing I'm writing I am a concerned parent living on the corner of Fifth Avenue. Why do I do that? So why do I write the words I am instead of I'm? Can anybody tell me that? Okay. Yeah, very good. So Carolina Redgeveer says because it's a formal letter. So keep in mind that one part of a formal letter is it does not use contractions. And there's actually logic to that. It's because of the emphasis as well. So when you use a contraction, it has less emphasis. So when you write it out, I am or I had instead of I'd, then you're giving more emphasis to the information. Okay, so it's a formal letter. So keep in mind that formal letters do not use contractions. Okay, so informal letters do not use contractions. Okay, be very careful about that. All right. So I am a concerned parent living on the corner of Fifth Avenue and North Street, just across from the large Serena playground located on the west side of Kabul. Over the past 12 months, I have noticed an increasing occurrence of people speeding to and from work. And this has created a very dangerous situation for the children in the neighborhood. Which must be addressed. Okay. All right. So there is my introductory paragraph. Okay. And again, I'm using the time, the location, and I'm introducing myself. So I'm a concerned parent living on the corner of Fifth Avenue and North Street, just across from the large Serena playground located on the west side of Kabul. West side does not need to be capital because it's not the name, unless it is the name of that part of Kabul. Over the past 12 months, I have noticed an increasing occurrence of people speeding to and from work, and this has created a very dangerous situation for the children in the neighborhood, which must be addressed. All right. So now I've introduced myself, I've created the context, and I've created the information necessary to write about the plot. Okay? All right. Okay. So here we go. Now, when you're writing a letter, it's nice to indent the letter, so I recommend doing that. Okay? And then we write the plot. Okay? So, the plot, which is the traffic accident. Okay, so I'm going to do a bit of writing here now. Just I've introduced a lot of concepts for task 1 letter writing, and we have a lot of the information from the planning. So I'm going to put this together, and what I would like you to do is do the same. So write the letter, write the plot. I'm going to look at your writing. It's okay if you're behind. It's okay if you're not going as quickly as me. What's most important here is that you start putting together the ideas, and then you can compare on how I'm doing it based on our planning, and then see where you can improve your writing style, okay? Of course, I will go into more and more explanation in future classes on how to put it together, okay? All right. As you are well aware, there was a tragic accident just 3 months ago where a young boy was hit by a speeding motorist and seriously injured. Unfortunately, I have not seen any changes in the regulation and flow of traffic since this incident. My son, Carlos, along with dozens of toddlers, play at Serena Park daily and are in constant danger of rushing automobiles especially before and after school from 7 to 9 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. My inference is that this has resulted from the opening of the new office building just 5 blocks down the street, where commuters are rushing to get to at before and after work. Okay. So all I'm doing here is I'm just basically using that information to construct the letter here and to give City Hall, and especially traffic controllers here, a very clear idea of what's going on. And this will help them to get at the issue much faster and much more effectively, okay? So my goal here is to get a solution for the problem. And for that, I need to have lots of clarity. And I'm sure that many of you are realizing, oh yeah, Adrian's using lots of descriptive and quantitative language because that's what you need in formal writing, okay? So you need to have good quantitative and descriptive language, okay? Also, be sure to have lots of descriptive and quantitative language, and be solution oriented. Okay, so that's your goal. You want a solution, all right? Sammy writes, I have witnessed the vehicles moving with over the speed limit where toddlers and school kids may get hurt. Sure, that works, Sammy. You're in the right direction. Again, keep writing. Yeah, Shaquille, you can write motorists speeding. Absolutely. So people who drive cars or ride motorbikes, they're called motorists. Okay. All right. So let's create a little bit more of a situation here. Okay. So if the traffic, if this traffic I am sure that it is only a matter of time before another person is injured or even killed. All right. That'll drive the point home, right? So my inference is an educated assumption based on the situation. So my inference is that this has resulted from the opening of the new office building just 5 blocks down the street where commuters are rushing to get to prior to and after work. If this traffic is not regulated, I'm sure that it is only a matter of time before another person is injured or killed. Okay, now I can start another paragraph based on the solutions, right? So I believe that there are several effective solutions which can be implemented to improve the safety of the local community and children. Firstly, the small street should have speed bumps that force motorists to slow down. Also, I would recommend stationing traffic officers to catch speeders and give out fines over the course of the next 6 months. Specifically in the times I mentioned above. Okay, so here you can refer to the location of the information in your writing. Okay, all right. So here I have firstly also, so first solution, second solution. Okay, and then you might have a final solution. So again, to get those high band scores, you want to sound original, okay? So your general IELTS task 1 is kind of like your speaking part 2, where you sound original, okay? You don't want to sound like you're writing a template essay. That's not going to get you a high band score, all right? So finally, I have started an initiative to all right. So finally, I have started an initiative to look for volunteers that help with the street crossings of children going to and coming from the park. And I would like to gain your support for this so it can become a regular program. Okay, and now I want to sign off. That also should be unique, all right? This is, again, where a lot of students use templates, and I want to sound unique here. So because we're short on time, I'm going to give this one to you, but again, in the future, when we practice this, you want to sound unique. If you have an idea of how you can finish this uniquely and give your closing salutation, just write it in the chat, and I'll take a look, okay? Amanpreet, yeah, I would definitely leave a space before starting your next paragraph. In letters, it's a really good idea to space your paragraph so that it's really an easy read, all right? So again, Sanvi, yours truly is not the way I would finish this letter, Okay, and yours faithfully, I wouldn't do that either. You're writing to City Hall. Yours faithfully is something that you would write to a person that you're in love with or your girlfriend or boyfriend. So I wouldn't do it like that. Okay. I would do it this way. I am urgently awaiting your response. And I would do that as a separate paragraph. You don't need to indent because it's one line. Okay? Okay? And I would finish it like this. A concerned citizen of Kabul, Thomas Smith. So I wouldn't write sincerely. I would write what I am or who I am. Okay? That would be this closing mark. All right? So be original. Okay? Be original throughout. Okay? Sharawati says, I await your prompt response. Yeah, that's better. Right? Amanpreet says, I await your response and immediate action. Okay. Janil says, I'm waiting for your response to overcome this problem as soon as possible. Absolutely, right? You want actionable ideas in communication. Okay. So let me read this letter one more time, make sure it makes sense, and make sure that I answer all the questions in the task. So here we go. Back to the original question. So you notice that cars are driving too fast near the playground next to your house. Write a letter to City Hall. Explain the situation. Describe why this worries you. Suggest possible solutions. Okay, here we go. So, Dear Traffic Authority or Dear Traffic Administration, I am a concerned parent living on the corner of 5th Avenue and North Street, just across from the large Serena playground located on the west side of Kabul. Over the past 12 months, I have noticed an increasing occurrence of people speeding to and from work, and this has created a very dangerous situation for the children in the neighborhood, which must be addressed. As you are well aware, there was a tragic accident just 3 months ago where a young boy was hit by a speeding motorist and seriously injured. Unfortunately, I have not seen any changes in the regulation and flow of traffic since this incident. My son Carlos, along with dozens of toddlers, play at Serena Park daily and are in constant danger of rushing automobiles, especially before and after school, from 7 to 9 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. My inference is that this has resulted from the opening of the new office building just 5 blocks down the street, where commuters are rushing to get to prior to and after work. If this traffic is not regulated, I am sure that it is only a matter of time before another person is injured or killed. I believe that there are several effective solutions which can be implemented to improve the safety of the local community and children. Firstly, this small street should have speed bumps that force motorists to slow down. Also, I would recommend stationing traffic officers to catch speeders and give out fines over the course of the next 6 months, specifically in the times I mentioned above. Finally, I've started an initiative to look for volunteers that help with the street crossings of children going to and coming from the park. And I would like to gain your support for this so it can become a regular program. I am urgently awaiting your response. And resolve. A concerned citizen of Kabul, Thomas Smith. Okay, that looks good. So now I'm done my essay and lots more points and lots more teaching about task 1, but I really wanted to get a formal letter done with you today, so maybe it was a little bit quick at the end, but I think you get the idea, and I'm sure that you picked up a couple of valuable points for your studies. So tomorrow we'll do academic task 1, all right? And again, for lots more help with the general IELTS, visit us at gieltshelp.com. For academic IELTS, it's aehelp.com. The courses there are extremely valuable. We help thousands and thousands of students every day. The website looks like this for the general. It's the green background. You click that big red button to join the premium package. After you do that, you're going to have a My Student account with computer-based IELTS practice exams, a full online course, lesson videos, and much, much more. So check it out. One-time payment, lifetime access. That's it for today. I hope everybody enjoyed the lesson. Keep up the positive mood. I will be back tomorrow with more writing, finishing task 2 for the first class and then doing task 1 academic for the second class. Thank you, Carolina, for moderating our chat. That was really great. Thank you, Thomas, Mohammed over at General English Help. You've done a good job. Shaquille, good job. And I wish you all a good night. If it's late in your country, sweet dreams. If you're getting ready for bed, much love wherever you are in this beautiful world. I'm Adrian, signing out for now. Bye.